Hello everyone and welcome to Grandstand Sports Data. In today's video, we're going to be diving deep into our quarterback analysis and dissecting their 2024 performance based on the midway point. We will be giving each of the qualified quarterbacks a letter grade based on an algorithm used in our past quarterback evaluation videos. So make sure to check out those past videos, and we will also put a link in the description down below. So let's get right into it. So first, we're going to start with the rookie class. Then we will move on to starting with failures all the way down to the A pluses who are going to be labeled elite. But just starting with the rookie class, because it's good, I guess, to start with some of the rookies and to show you basically based on our algorithm how well they have played. Well, starting with the first one, and this would be the weakest one out of the four, just based on our algorithm, is going to be Caleb Williams. Not necessarily playing the best. His on target percentage is not exactly good. His accuracy numbers have not been good this year. As you can see, he's being 35th out of 36 qualified quarterbacks. And what makes them qualified is going to be very close to 125 to 128 passing attempts. So that he's coming in at number 24 at a C minus. Also note that you guys won't see them later on as we go on to the C grade. So you won't see them mentioned there since we already mentioned them here. Drake May will be this next one. He's ranked 20th in the league. He's going to be a C. You can see he's kind of a pretty decent accurate quarterback when it comes to his accuracy numbers. But as you can see in terms of production, his adjusted net yards, his sack percentage, and him being pressured, it's all down towards the lower end of the league. If he can, I guess, get some weapons and get a team around him, he could be pretty decent. Moving on to the next guy, it's going to be Bo Nix. That's right, Bo Nix has played slightly better, just according to our algorithm, better than Drake May. If you checked out our quarterback video when it came to handicapping the top five guys that come out of the draft, I believe we made it top six when it came to quarterbacks. We'll put a link in the description down below. But we had Bo Nix ranked number 6 out of this year's draft class, where May was 3 and Caleb Williams was number 2. We had this guy at number 1, and it's obviously Jaden Daniels. He's been, taking the league by storm. He's the talk of the town in every town. Some of the stats that he hasn't been the greatest in his sack percentage. He does take a pretty decent amount of sacks, but based on this pressure percentage, it's probably from him scrambling. And then the touchdown percentage, you would expect him to be a little bit better or a little bit more efficient, even though he is keeping these interceptions down, which is always great. They are probably pounding the ball into the end zone as they were averaging 30 points per game. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but he does actually fall inside the top 10, being the 8th ranked best quarterback, good enough for a B grade. Okay, so let's jump into our failing quarterbacks. And we really just don't want to touch on them. We don't want to really run through the numbers exactly. But as you can see, just working ourselves down from the bottom, 36 qualified quarterbacks. Coming in at dead last is going to be Anthony Richardson. Obviously, you can see his numbers all blue in terms of rankings. He hasn't done basically anything good. Gardner Minshew coming in at an F as well at number 35. Bryce Young, of course, at number 34. I guess you would say he's kind of turning it on a little bit, but not necessarily. Deshaun Watson, no surprise here. He's going to be an F grade. He should have been replaced for Jameis a long time ago, but for some reason, Cleveland feels like they need to make that contract work. Moving on to our D minus, so we're going to touch on them just like we touched on the F grade. It's going to be really quick. D minus, we're going to start with Jacoby Brissett. He looks like he could have been very close to an F, but is in the D minus group. Will Levis, another one. Looks like he has pretty decent touchdown percentage numbers and completion percentage, so he's slinging the ball. He just doesn't know what team it's going to, as he has more of an interception percentage than he does a touchdown percentage. Moving on to Geno Smith, and a little bit of a surprise here because he has been accurate, and you can see from his bad throw percentage, he hasn't been throwing bad balls. The thing is he's being pressured a lot. Doesn't have really the support from his wide receiver group as they're 26 in the NFL. Some of you guys are going to say, well, look at the talent. What do you mean 26? It's the numbers. We go by the numbers. So, yep, DK's dropping some passes, Lockett's dropping some passes, and even Smith and Jigba is dropping some passes. That's what leaves them to 26 in the NFL, especially while Geno Smith is playing and is the quarterback for the Seahawks. Moving on to some of the weak quarterbacks in the D grade. You can see here we only have two, and it's going to be from the same division. You're going to have Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott. We've touched on Daniel Jones in some of the preseason quarterback grades and in our projections. This right here is showing you just a guy who dumps the ball off. That's why he's on target most of the time. It's very short passes. He doesn't have much of a bad throw percentage, but it doesn't lead to anything in terms of adjusted net yards per attempt, and it doesn't lead to anything in terms of passer rating or touchdown percentage. So the dump offs are not doing anything. Dak, we feel like he has been a victim this year of not having a run game. He is a I hate to say it. I hate to go to this extent, but I feel like he's a great game manager. And if he doesn't have a run game and he can't work off his play action, these are the numbers, and this is who he actually is. So you can't blame his wide receivers, as you can see, they're third in the NFL when it comes to dropping passes. So one of the better teams in the NFL when it comes to catching the football. Now moving on to some of the more insufficient quarterbacks, we label that a D plus. We're going to touch on some guys here. Justin Fields, I think he's proven to be insufficient. He was protecting the football a lot this season, but he just wasn't getting that production. As you can see, being tied for 28th in the NFL when it comes to touchdown percentage. Just very lackluster numbers. But he did last year perform very well at the end of the season. This year, he wasn't ruining anything. The team was still winning, but not enough to get him up over that D plus grade. Mason Rudolph, very much like Will Levis, we touched on him very much. They're almost identical. We will touch on them a little bit later as well. And then another one that could be a surprise to some people, not to us, because he kind of hovers around this number last year and this year, even though he does have a lot of hype around him. CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, 25th in the NFL right now, just based on this algorithm. He throws a lot of bad balls and he's not too accurate. This was proven to be the case last year as well. He does still protect the football, which leads him to be a good quarterback and to get numerous amounts of chances. But you have to remember, when it comes to this algorithm, he's been a very middle of the road quarterback. He hasn't done anything, just according to this algorithm. Some people will push back on that. He does play very well. He plays very smart, which probably doesn't show up in the algorithm. But you could see that he's not the most accurate quarterback out there. Okay, so let's touch on some of the below average quarterbacks, the guys that we have labeled a C minus. We're going to start with Trevor Lawrence. He's ranked 23rd in the NFL. That's why we have him at that C minus grade. We will like to ask the question, is he a bust yet? Because we've been labeling him a bust this year and some of last year. We said, it's it. The jury's out. He's a bust. And the pushback we always get is, well, it hasn't been enough time. He doesn't have enough weapons. You got to give him some more time. The guy has sucked for almost 5 years. How much time does he want? And here would be a good question to push back on these people. Please leave an answer down in the comment section below to this question. How come Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud are labeled good quarterbacks when one guy's had 8 game sample size, the other guy's had a year and a half sample size, and we label them good quarterbacks? But we can't label Trevor Lawrence a bad quarterback when he sucked for 5 years. That's my question. Where is the sample size there? When can we label a guy good? When can we label a guy bad? Moving on to some of the next quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, he's been underperforming, and it's due to his weapons. We told you in the beginning of the year, system quarterback can be better. Hasn't been good this year, and it's because of the lack of weapons. Jalen Hurts, C minus. This is where he really hovers around. He only had that 1 year when he went to the Super Bowl where his numbers really stuck out, but he has a problem with sack percentage and being pressured. Maybe that's from Kelsey being minus from that offensive line, and then him scrambling a little bit too often, and it's leading to him having bad sack numbers. Now moving on to some of the average quarterbacks, and this is just based on our algorithm. We only got two here. We got Matt Stafford. There are some missing guys, and remember, because you can see it goes from 19 to 17. Remember, I told you guys that we factored in the rookies in the first page, so we just left them off on this just to not have duplicate analysis. So Matt Stafford, as you can see, middle of the road quarterback. These numbers are basically showing that he also hasn't had the support that people have been. I mean, the drop percentage is not too bad, but I'm talking about that high end talent like Puka and Cup. They have been in and out of the lineup. Andy Dalton, he's actually done pretty decent with what he has down in Carolina. Just that some of the big numbers are not there. You could tell by drop percentage. Obviously, they don't got the weapons. 27th in the NFL. His on target can be a little bit better, so that's probably where he's kind of showing his age. But everywhere else, he's just average. He's just an average quarterback. Moving on to some of the fair graded guys, C pluses, we would like to label them. We're really going to start getting individual when we move on to the top 10. Right here, you can see Justin Herbert. You can see number 1 in the NFL. In terms of his interception percentage, that's going to be based on the coaching. He has a little bit of a better coach now, but you can see this number right here, drop percentage, right? Didn't we say that his weapons had a problem this year? 32nd in the NFL, not the best, could be better, can project him upwards. I would say he's even top 5 if he can even get a weapon, enough weapons around him. Not to touch too much on this, Aaron Rodgers has been very underwhelming this past season, but middle of the road, has a bad percentage of 30th in the NFL, so not exactly the most accurate quarterback. Sam Donald's been a little bit of a surprise. I'd like to put these two in tandem when I'm talking about Kirk Cousins and Sam Donald, right? One guy left the team. Well, basically, Minnesota took the cheaper contract and got basically the same production. Uh, 14th in the NFL in terms of the quarterback while giving up the 13th quarterback. And then Atlanta takes on more of that money. That would be, just a brief synopsis of those two teams. But basically, Sam Donald matching that production that Kirk Cousins was going to give them anyways. Some of the satisfactory quarterbacks, we label these guys the B minuses. We got two guys that probably should be even higher than this, and it's Patrick Mahomes and Jordan Love. You can probably rest assured that both of these guys will finish higher than this. So obviously Mahomes should crack that top 10. He looks like he has a little bit of a rapport in these last few games with DeAndre Hopkins. Look forward to that. Jordan Love, I feel like he's been dealing with nicks and knacks throughout his his injury report throughout the whole season. You'd like to see him get a little bit more healthier. The team was playing good with Malik Willis, really driving the ball, and I think they kind of schemed it up, especially with the great coaching. Okay, so let's move on to some of the solid and good quarterbacks. We label them a B, and we're going to start with the number 10 ranked guy. It's going to be Derek Carr. Derek Carr's been pretty good in terms of standing in the pocket. His sack percentage is only second in the NFL. He is doing pretty good in terms of his bad throw percentage, so not many bad throws, but his on target drops to 16th in the NFL, about middle of the road. He is being pressured a little bit in New Orleans, which is probably leading to those interceptions with an interception rate of 22nd. I think he's a little bit high still for this model, though. He's usually a guy that's in that middle range of like 14, 15, 16, 17. Moving on to the next guy, it's going to be Joe Flacco. That's right, Joe Flacco. Even with some accuracy numbers that seem to be in question with the on target percentage and the bad throw percentage, he's doing everything else middle of the road. He's being a serviceable quarterback with some pretty decent weapons. And I think the coach made the right move. Anthony Richardson has been atrocious. So you make that move to the wily veteran, see if you can get some wins out of it, be a respectable ball club. And moving on to the final solid or good quarterback labeled a B, it's going to be Tua. So Tua, he's had his injury concerns throughout the season as well, but he has been on target, and this is mostly from his scheme. But his offensive line has been the best in the NFL while he's been the quarterback. He's only been pressured 11.5% of the time, only leading to 4.5% of sacks. So he's been pretty good. It's just that even with the protection, even with the good throws, he is making mistakes, and that's not necessarily a good thing, and it's kind of holding him back from being that top 5 quarterback. Okay, so let's move on to the B plus quarterbacks. I'm going to start off with the first guy at number 6. He should be higher than this. I believe it's Jared Goff. Jared Goff should be way higher than this. Obviously, with a completion percentage of 74.9, the guy's been almost nearly perfect in 2 games. He was like 90 something percent, I want to say. He was only had a 1 or 2 incompletions throughout the whole game. Obviously, his interception percentage is about middle of the road, and he has one of the better passer ratings in the NFL. He does take a lot of sacks. So when you see sacks, with a lower ranking than pressure percentage, what it means is he may be holding on to the ball for a tad bit longer than he should. But look, it's not really hurting them. Sixth best quarterback in the league. Guy's got number one. He's rated number one in terms of completion percentage, second in terms of quarterback rating. It's not really killing them. Moving on to a guy who's kind of surprised me, it's going to be Kyler Murray. I thought Kyler Murray was going to be putrid this season. He's actually been pretty good, pretty decent. I mean, commendable for a lack of a better term. Uh, Pressured in terms of the top 10, so a top 10 offensive line just based on that pressure percentage. Uh, on target, not necessarily. He's about middle of the road when it comes to his accuracy, but you can see he's not taking much sacks, so he's being well protected. He's got a good quarterback rating, and he's keeping those picks down. That's huge for being in the top 5. I think he's rated a little bit high, though. I think guys like Goff and, Patrick Mahomes, even Jordan Love when he gets healthy, may jump over Kyler at the end of the year. Okay, so let's move on to some of the excellent quarterbacks or the quarterbacks that are graded an A. So not necessarily your valedictorians, but some of the guys that are knocking on the door. Let's start with number 4, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's been good. He's been, kept upright in terms of his pressure percentage. Even though his sack percentage is 19th in the NFL, it's kind of very similar to that Jared Goff that I mentioned. He may be holding on to the ball just a little tad too long. He is on target in terms of 11th in the NFL, so he does throw a good ball, and he's keeping those bad throw percentage very low, which is great. Good passer rating at 7th in the NFL, and obviously with the touchdown rating at 7.3, that's going to be good enough for 3rd in the NFL. So Baker Mayfield has been holding up his end of the bargain. Moving on to number 3, and also with an A, it's going to be Joe Burrow. This does not factor in the Week 10 matchup between the Baltimore Ravens. We'll be dropping this video during that game, so this does not count that football game. It only counts for the first 9 weeks that have been played. But as you can see, he's top 5 in some of the most important stats. Top 5 in completion percentage. Top 5 in terms of touchdown percentage. Top 5 in terms of passer rating. Top 5 in terms of QBR. The guy's top 5 in almost every statistical category here. Some of the on target numbers are down from some of his usuals. He is about middle of the pack when it comes to on target, but that bad throw percentage is 3rd in the NFL. He doesn't really throw a bad ball when he's releasing it. So he's good enough for 3rd in the NFL, just according to our model. Okay, so let's move on to our elite quarterbacks. It's probably going to be the top 2 quarterbacks, or not probably, it is. We're going to start with the A plus grade of Josh Allen. You can see he's almost top 6 in every statistical category here. Most importantly, he's number 2 when it comes to win percentage, which this is the final output of this algorithm. That's how we determine it. So he is poor in a few stats, and I will go through those. Drop percentage, so he's not necessarily getting, those wide receivers are not holding up their end of the bargain. They will get better as time goes on, but remember, he's losing a guy like Steph Diggs, who did help that drop percentage. Now he doesn't necessarily have that. Completion percentage has gone down a little bit too. Maybe that's because of it, and it works in tandem. But I will say this is the number right here. Tied for 4th in the NFL when it comes to interception percentage. He is usually never there. He's usually down in the below, way down, like 25, 26, 27th ranked in the NFL when it comes to that interception percentage. This year he's been more efficient. It's led to touchdowns. He may take this team very, very deep this season. Moving on to number 1, and it's going to be Lamar Jackson. And I will say, not necessarily in a nitpick here, but it seems like the same pattern with Lamar Jackson, right? He's going to give you those big chunk plays in terms of his adjusted net yards per attempt. He's going to have a good QBR. He's going to be very elusive, which is going to lead to less sack percentage because you can see the pressure. He's being pressured 13th in the NFL, but only sacked at the rate of 7th in the NFL. So that means he's eluding pressure. He is taking his interceptions down this season, which is huge for him because he's not the most accurate quarterback, and this is what I've been saying, and it gets more exposed in the playoffs. He's not on target. He has bad throw percentage, and it's not too. And then you combine that with his wide receiver core dropping a lot of passes, being tied in 24th in the NFL. Yes, he's translating to good success in the regular season, but come playoff time, it's gonna bite him in the ass again. Okay, so let's move on to some of the quarterback controversy matchups. We've already touched on a few of these guys, so we just want to run it through basically the teams. We're going to start with the Carolina Panthers. We're not going to do much here. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan or even some of the quarterback matchup teams fan, you can just pause this and take a look yourself. Obviously, 17th in the NFL for Andy Dalton, according to our algorithm, and then 34th in the NFL. So obviously, they should have made the right choice at sticking with Andy Dalton. Now moving on to the Indianapolis Colts, very much the same. Joe Flacco is finishing in top 10 in the NFL when it comes to his production with the Indianapolis Colts, whereas Anthony Richardson has been ass. He's been straight ass. He's almost ranked dead last in most of these numbers, except for sack percentage and drop percentage. Moving on to some of the other teams with the quarterback controversy matchup, we have Drake May and Jacoby Brissett. A little bit closer than the other matchups, but as you can see, Drake May has the favorable grade there, and the Patriots should move with him going forward. Next team, and certainly last but certainly not least, would be the Tennessee Titans with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. Really, to some people, you may see the numbers and say, hey, Mason Rudolph. Me, I think it's really a toss-up. They're both D quarterbacks. 31-26, what does it matter? You really just go out there, roll the balls out, and see what happens. So we hope you found this 2024 NFL midterm grade video entertaining. Our goal here at Grandstand Sports 8 is to provide you with stats that bring unbiased handicapping. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Your feedback is everything to us, so leave a comment down below on your opinion and what quarterbacks you think will have a great second half of the season and which ones will not. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.